The case of the perpetually broken printer and the missing paper. The office printer, a source of endless joy and more often profound despair. This particular saga involves a network printer on the 3rd floor, serving about 50 users and one specific individual, let's call her Brenda, who seemed to have a personal vendetta against its functionality. Brenda would call, sometimes multiple times a day, reporting that the printer was broken. Not just out of paper or toner, mind you, but fundamentally, irreparably broken. The calls always started with a sigh and a dramatic declaration that the printer isn't working again. My initial troubleshooting steps were always the same. Is there paper in the tray, Brenda? Yes, I checked, it's broken. Is the power light on? Of course it is, it's just not printing. It's broken. You get the picture. Given the frequency and Brenda's insistence, we'd dispatch a tech. 9 times out of 10, the breakage was, drum roll please, the printer was out of paper, not just low, but completely empty. The tech would load a ream, print a test page, and Brenda would miraculously be able to print again. This went on for weeks, every time the same ritual. Brenda calls, insists it's broken, tech goes, adds paper, printer works. We started keeping a log specifically for Brenda's printer calls. The pattern was undeniable. One day I was on site for a different issue near Brenda's department. The printer alert came in via our monitoring software. Out of paper. Before Brenda could even dial my number, I walked over to the printer. Sure enough, the tray was empty. I looked around. Brenda was at her desk, staring expectantly at the printer. I grabbed a ream of paper from the nearby supply cabinet, opened the printer tray and loaded it. The printer whirred, the out-of-paper error cleared, and the status light turned green. Brenda watched me the entire time, stone-faced. As I closed the tray, she looked at me and said, in a tone suggesting I had just performed open-heart surgery with a spork, "Oh, so that's what you have to do." I just stared at her for a moment, the sheer absurdity of the situation washing over me. This is a woman who manages complex projects, deals with clients, and navigates corporate politics with ease, yet claimed ignorance on how to load paper into a tray clearly labeled with diagrams. I politely explained again that when the printer says out of paper, it means it needs paper. I showed her the paper supply, the tray, the whole 9 yards. She nodded slowly, as if receiving ancient forbidden knowledge. For a glorious few days, the calls stopped. We thought maybe, just maybe, it had finally sunk in. Then the alert came again. Out of paper, and seconds later the phone rang. It was Brenda. The printer isn't working again, it's broken. The cycle continued. We eventually put a laminated instruction sheet right on top of the printer, detailing how to add paper. It disappeared within a day. We put another. It was found crumpled in a nearby bin. We started just directing Brenda to the paper supply and telling her to load it herself. She huffed and puffed, sometimes taking an hour to comply, but eventually she would. The printer would work, and she'd act like she just single-handedly saved the company network. Some battles are just never won. Some users are simply allergic to basic troubleshooting, preferring to declare something broken and wait for the tech cavalry, even if the fix involves a task a 5-year-old could accomplish. They put instructions right on the printer and she removed them. That's next level avoidance. Don't avoid hitting that subscribe button like Brenda avoids paper. The executive, the full mailbox, and the important cat pictures. Working in IT, you quickly learn that job titles don't necessarily correlate with technical aptitude or willingness to follow simple instructions. This story involves a senior executive, let's call him Mr. Henderson, who decided the rules of email storage didn't apply to him. Our company had a generous but not infinite mailbox quota. Users were expected to manage their email, archival messages, and generally not treat their inbox like a digital hoarder's paradise. For standard users, exceeding the quota meant you couldn't send mail until you deleted some things. Executives had a slightly larger quota and a grace period, but the limit was still firm. Mr. Henderson hit his limit, hard. Our monitoring flagged his mailbox as critically full. I sent him a polite, standard email notification explaining the situation and providing instructions on how to archive or delete old items. His response was swift and dismissive. "I tell you, I don't have time for this, just make it bigger." I replied, explaining that increasing quotas required approval and had storage cost implications, and the easiest solution was for him to manage his existing email. I offered to show his assistant how to help him archive. He reiterated, "Make it bigger, all my emails are important." This went back and forth for a few days. His mailbox remained full, and he started complaining that he wasn't receiving external emails because they were bouncing, obviously. He escalated to my manager, complaining that IT was preventing him from doing his job. My manager, bless his soul, backed me up, but suggested I have a chat with Mr. Henderson to explain the situation in person. I scheduled a time and went to his office. I sat down and patiently explained the concept of mailbox quotas, the volume of data involved, tens of gigabytes over the limit, and the company's data retention policies. I showed him the breakdown of his mailbox content, thousands upon thousands of emails, many with huge attachments. He waved his hand impatiently. Yes, important business correspondence. I decided to try a different approach. I opened his mailbox, with his permission standing right there, and sorted by size. The top culprits were emails with enormous image attachments, often forwarded multiple times. I clicked on one. It was a chain email from 3 years ago titled FIU, FW, FW, you have to see these kittens, followed by about 20 high-resolution photos of cats. I scrolled through the list, more chain emails, photos of someone's vacation, jokes with massive embedded images. It was clear that a significant portion of his important business correspondence was digital junk. I gently pointed this out. Mr. Henderson, while these cat pictures are undoubtedly charming, storing thousands of them at high resolution across multiple forwarded emails is consuming a considerable amount of your mailbox space. Deleting items like these would quickly bring you under the limit. He looked at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen. But they're important. Important for enjoyment, perhaps, I said, trying to maintain a neutral tone. But are they critical for business operations? Our policy requires us to retain business-critical communication, but personal forwards and large, non-work-related attachments are typically not included. He grudgingly allowed me to show him how to sort by size and select multiple non-essential emails to delete. We spent about 15 minutes doing this, and his quota usage dropped significantly, though still not below the limit. He stopped the exercise, saying he had a call. I'll finish this later, he said, though we both knew he wouldn't. He still complained periodically about the quota, but at least the immediate crisis passed. Some people just can't bear to let go of their digital clutter, even when it actively hinders their ability to work. The user whose low computer was being used as a footrest. Sometimes, the simplest explanations are the hardest to uncover, especially when the user is convinced the problem is deeply technical and complex. I received a ticket from a user, let's call him Gary, complaining that his computer was running incredibly slow. He described it as like wading through treacle and taking forever to open anything. Standard remote troubleshooting commenced. I checked resource monitor. CPU usage seemed normal. RAM wasn't maxed out. Disk activity wasn't excessive. Ran a quick virus scan. Clean. Checked network speed. Fine. Software updates were current. Nothing obvious explained the dramatic slowdown Gary was reporting. I remoted in again and asked him to show me what he meant. He'd click on an application icon, and yes, it would take maybe 5 to 10 seconds longer than it should to launch, but it wasn't the crippling minutes-long delay his description implied. I watched him work for a bit, asking him to perform various tasks. As he was navigating a File Explorer window, I noticed something odd. Every few seconds there would be a slight, almost imperceptible lag spike. It wasn't constant, but it was repeatable. It felt like something was intermittently interfering with the system. I asked Gary if anything unusual was happening physically around his computer. No, nothing at all. It's just slow. I decided I needed to see this myself. I scheduled a visit to his desk. When I arrived, Gary was sitting there looking frustrated. The computer tower was on the floor under his desk, which was standard practice for space saving. I sat down next to his desk and started observing while he worked. I ran some diagnostics, still nothing definitive. I leaned down to look at the tower itself. It seemed fine. Lights were on, fans were spinning. Wait a minute. The tower was positioned vertically, as designed, but Gary was resting his foot on the top edge of it, not just casually, but applying a bit of pressure, using it as a makeshift footrest, and every time he shifted his weight, or adjusted his foot, I could see a very slight movement in the tower. My eyes scanned the top of the tower. This particular model had a top-mounted exhaust fan vent, covered by a fine mesh grill, and right on top of that mesh grill where Gary's foot was resting was a small, plush, stress ball type toy. Every time Gary moved his foot, he was pressing the soft toy down onto the fan grill, slightly obstructing the fan and potentially causing a minor vibration that resonated through the case, perhaps briefly nudging a cable or causing a tiny momentary disruption the system wasn't handling gracefully. Gary, I said, pointing under the desk. Could you, move your foot off the computer? He looked at me like I had two heads, but slowly lifted his foot. Why? You're using it as a footrest, I explained, stating the obvious. And it looks like this toy here is sitting right on top of the fan vent. I removed the stress ball. Oh, yeah, I guess I do, he said, looking genuinely surprised as if his foot had achieved sentience and made the decision independently. But would that make it slow? It's possible that obstructing the airflow or causing vibrations could impact performance, I said, trying to sound technical while suppressing a grin. Let's see if it makes a difference. I asked him to open a few applications and files he'd previously complained about being slow. He clicked the icons. They opened at normal speed. He tried navigating the file explorer. No lag spikes. He sat there clicking for a minute, a look of dawning realization on his face. Huh, it is faster. Right, I said. So probably best not to use the computer as a footrest and keep things off the top vent. He agreed, looking slightly sheepish. Problem solved. The resolution. User stopped using computer as furniture. The countless hours I spent remotely troubleshooting. Irrelevant. The culprit was a foot and a fluffy toy. Complex remote diagnostics, only to find a foot in a toy. That's peak tech support right there. The user who unplugged their monitor to charge their phone and called about a blank screen. Some support calls stick with you, not because they're complex or challenging, but because of the sheer head-desking simplicity of the resolution and the user's complete lack of awareness. This is one of those calls. The ticket came in, monitor not working, blank screen. The user, let's call him Mark, was in a remote office. So it was a strictly phone remote session. Me, okay Mark, I see your ticket about the monitor. Can you describe what you're seeing, Mark? It's just black. Nothing is showing up. It was working fine yesterday. Me, alright, is the computer itself turned on? Are there any lights on the tower? Mark, yeah, the computer's on. The little lights are blinking. Me, okay, good. Now look at the monitor itself. Is there a power light on the monitor? Mark, I don't see one. Maybe it's off. Me, could you press the power button on the monitor? It's usually on the front or underneath. Mark, getting sound of fumbling. Okay, I pressed it. Nothing happened. Mark's still black. Maybe you could. Alright, let's check the cables. First, is the monitor plugged into the wall outlet or a power strip? Mark, yes, it's plugged in. Me, okay, now there are two cables going into the back of the monitor. One is the power cable, which you just confirmed is plugged into the wall. The other is the video cable, which connects the monitor to the computer. Can you make sure both of those are firmly plugged into the back of the monitor? Mark, more fumbling. Okay, they seem pushed in on the monitor side. Me, great. Now follow the video cable from the back of the monitor to the back of the computer. Make sure that end is also firmly plugged into the computer. Mark, long pause, very long pause. Me, Mark, did you find the cable? Mark, well, I see the cable, but it's not plugged into the computer. Me, okay, let's plug it in then. Find the port on the back of the computer that it fits into. It should look similar to the end of the cable. Mark, okay, wait, where did it go? Me, where did the cable go? Mark, yeah, I had it. Oh, it's on the floor. Me, alright, pick it up and plug it into the computer. Mark, okay, got it, plugging it in now. Like, hey, the screen came on. Me, trying to keep my composure. Excellent, Mark, glad we got that sorted. Just make sure that cable stays plugged in. Curiosity got the better of me. Mark, do you know why the cable might have been unplugged from the computer? Another pause. Mark, well, my phone needed charging and I couldn't reach the power strip easily. So I unplugged the monitor cable from the back of the computer tower so I could use that outlet for my phone charger instead. I figured the monitor didn't need power if the screen was black. I was silent for a moment, processing this logic. He unplugged the video cable, not the power cable, from the computer, specifically, to free up an outlet for his phone charger, believing the monitor cable port on the computer was a power source for the monitor that wasn't needed because the screen was already black because the cable was unplugged. The circular reasoning was astounding. Me, Mark, the video cable transmits the picture to the monitor. It doesn't power it, and the port on the computer isn't an electrical outlet. You need to plug the monitor's power cable into a power outlet, and the video cable into the video port on the computer. Mark, oh right, that makes sense. Some days you just have to hang up the phone and stare blankly at the wall for a few minutes. He unplugged the video cable from the computer to use that port as an outlet. The mental gymnastics are Olympic level. the network goes down because someone needed just a little bit more cable. Our office network was generally stable, a point of pride for the IT team. We had redundant links, managed switches, and everything neatly organized in server rooms and network closets. Then came the day a single user managed to take down a significant portion of a floor's network connectivity with a pair of scissors and a dream. The alerts started flooding in. Multiple ports on a switch in a specific closet went offline. Simultaneously, users from that section of the floor started calling, reporting no network access, no internet, nothing. Standard network outage procedure commenced. Check the switch, check the upstream connection, check the physical cables. My colleague and I headed to the network closet. The switch was online, but the indicator lights for about 20 ports were dark. We checked the patch panel. The cables seemed fine there. We traced the cables back to the wall ports they served. Still nothing obvious. We split up to investigate the user area. Most desks were dark, computers attempting to connect but failing. We started checking wall ports and user cables. Everything seemed connected correctly on the user end. Then we got to one desk. The user, let's call her Carol, was sitting there looking annoyed. Her computer was unplugged from the network port. The network cable was there, but it looked wrong. It was shorter than standard, with a very jagged, unprofessional looking cut on one end. Me: "Hi Carol, your network cable seems to be cut." "What happened here?" Carol: "Oh, that, yeah, I cut it." My colleague and I exchanged a stunned glance. Me: You cut the network cable? Why?" Carol: "Well, I needed to move my computer a little bit further over on my desk, but the cable wasn't long enough. I figured I only needed about 6 more inches, so I cut off the end and was going to reattach it further down the cable to make it longer. My brain struggled to process this. She thought she could just cut a segment out of a precisely engineered Ethernet cable and splice it back together to extend it, like cutting a piece out of a garden hose and expecting it to still carry water under pressure. Me: "Carol, that's not how network cables work. You can't just cut them and stick them back together. The wires inside are very specific, and the connectors need to be properly crimped onto the end." Carol: "Oh, really? I thought it would be like extending an electrical cord. My husband does that all the time with lamp cords." While technically true that you can splice electrical cords, though often not safely or to code, applying that logic to a Cat5e or Cat6 Ethernet cable with its twisted pairs and precise signaling requirements was ambitious to say the least. Me: "Network cables are much more sensitive. Cutting it like that breaks the connection entirely, and actually that cable wasn't just for your computer, it was the main cable running from the wall port in this area back to the network closet switch. We followed the cable. It wasn't just a patch cable from the wall to her computer, it was the in-wall cable that terminated at her desk's wall port. She had cut the cable leading to the wall port, effectively severing the connection for that entire run back to the switch, impacting everyone connected to that segment. My colleague went to get a new cable and tools to properly terminate it at the wall plate. I stayed with Carol, trying to explain gently why cutting network infrastructure was a bad idea. She seemed genuinely surprised that her little snip had caused such widespread issues. Once the cable was properly repaired and connected, the lights on the switch ports in the closet came back on, and the users in that section of the floor regained connectivity. The entire outage, affecting about 20 people, was caused by one user needing just a little bit more cable and applying DIY electrical knowledge to sensitive data infrastructure. We learned a valuable lesson: never underestimate a user's creativity when it comes to solving physical constraints, no matter how illogical their methods might be. Applying lamp cord logic to Ethernet cable? That's a new one for sure. What kind of user fixes leave you speechless? Share in the comments. The user who insisted the internet was broken because their favorite website changed colors. Some support requests defy logical explanation and venture into the realm of the truly bizarre. This particular gem came from a user, let's call her Agnes, who was adamant that the internet was fundamentally broken, despite all our tests showing perfect connectivity and speed. Agnes called, voice trembling with frustration, declaring that the internet is down, I can't use anything. Me: "Okay, Agnes, I'm sorry to hear that. Let's troubleshoot. Are you able to open any websites at all?" Agnes: "Well, yes, I can get to the company intranet and Google, but it's not working right. Everything is wrong." This immediately raised a flag. If she could access internal and external sites, the internet connection itself was clearly functional. The problem was likely specific to a site or her computer. Me: "Okay, so you can access some sites. What specifically isn't working correctly?" Agnes, my website, and my favorite one, it's all changed. The colors are different, the buttons moved, the internet broke it. A website redesign, a common cause of user confusion, but rarely grounds for declaring the entire internet kaput. Me, Agnes, it sounds like the website you're visiting might have been updated or redesigned. Websites change sometimes. Agnes, no. You don't understand. It was perfectly fine yesterday. The internet must have broken it overnight. Fix the internet so my website goes back to normal. I tried to explain that websites are controlled by the people who run them, not by the internet or our company's network connection. I explained that a redesign was intentional on their part. Agnes was having none of it. She insisted that because her internet connection came through us, we had the power and responsibility to revert the specific website back to its previous appearance. She genuinely believed that the visual state of a third-party website was somehow tied to our local network infrastructure. Me, Agnes, we provide the connection that allows you to reach the website, but we don't control what the website itself looks like or how it functions. That's handled by the website owners. Agnes, but it was fine before. You must have done something. Did you change the internet settings? Did you update something? I patiently explained that no changes had been made on our end that would affect the appearance of a single external website. I even offered to visit the site myself to confirm it had changed, hoping that seeing me access the same redesigned version would convince her. I navigated to the website she mentioned. Sure enough, it had undergone a significant visual overhaul. Buttons were in different places, the color scheme was new, and the layout was updated. I described what I was seeing. Agnes, see? It's broken. That's not how it's supposed to look. Make it go back. Me, Agnes, this is the new design. The website owners changed it. It's not broken. It just looks different now. Agnes sighed dramatically. Well, if the internet can't even keep my favorite website the same, what good is it? This is unacceptable. She continued to argue for several more minutes, convinced that IT possessed some magical power to force external websites to revert to older versions. I finally had to politely but firmly explain that there was nothing more I could do, as the issue was with the website's design, not her internet connection or our service. She hung up, clearly dissatisfied, probably still believing I was withholding the fix internet to unredesign website button. It was a stark reminder that for some users, the technology they interact with is a mysterious black box, and any unexpected change, no matter the cause, is automatically attributed to the internet being broken or IT incompetence. Agnes thought the internet broke her website. If only we had a button for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go.